And the police in America don't mess around. Unlike this country, they actually enforce the law. So if there had been a sort of Formula One race going on along the avenues and boulevards of New York, I'm sure somebody would have been arrested. Good morning, Kate. Well, this did evoke memories of that terrible night and the events of the early hours of the 31st of August, 1997, something which is with me every day and remains with me forever. But I think, and I said at the outset, that the key witness, the vital witness in this would be the taxi driver, because he was independent, he was there, and he could give an account. Now, we've heard from him this morning, but I also have a quote from him which I think sums it up rather well. He said, "I don't think I would call it a chase. It never felt as if I was in danger. It wasn't like a car chase in a movie. They were quiet and seemed scared, but it's New York. It's safe." That was Sukham Singh, known as Sonny to his mates in New York. And I think with profit, we can listen to His Honour, the Mayor, Eric Adams, who incidentally was formerly a New York policeman. And he said it was challenging, and that's a long way from nearly catastrophic. Fortunately, there were two police witnesses, obviously men who are used to making statements and giving evidence, and it will be interesting to read or know their account. I can't believe, having been to America probably more than 50 times, that the New York Police Department wouldn't have arrested somebody if there had been a behaviour as described in a 2-hour car chase. I happened to have been there on the night the police department made a record number of arrests, 1,600. That was the night of the big blackout in July 1977. And the police in America don't mess around. Unlike this country, they actually enforce the law. So if there had been a sort of Formula One race going on along the avenues and boulevards of New York, I'm sure somebody would have been arrested. But as your co-host said, Mr. Abel, there is no excuse, none at all, for people being harassed in this way. It's appalling. I have a piece in the new edition, or the June edition, of the British Journalism Review, and I describe these paparazzi as thugs with cameras.
Well, Michael, I wanted to ask you about that, because you mentioned at the start there about your own experiences and your memories from what happened to Princess Diana. And of course, they will form part of the way that Harry and Meghan see this situation. But where is the line? Because, you know, New York is a city that's full of celebrities. Paparazzi make a living out of taking photos of them. Journalists around the world run those photos from, you know, papers and magazines in America to here in the UK and Europe. Where's the line? I mean, should celebrities run away from paparazzi, I suppose, at the start? Does that make it worse? Or is there a way that the two can coexist?
Let's cling to the facts. Nobody was injured. They got to their destination unmolested and arrived safely. Of course, the irony of it is, of course, when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex decamped first to Canada and then to California, it was in part because they thought they would have an easier life from the media in America than in this country, and certainly from the continental paparazzi. Of course, it hasn't worked out like that. People have a right to make a living at any public event. If people are putting themselves on display to be admired, as they were arriving at an awards ceremony or leaving an awards ceremony, but I don't think a chase is permitted. As Princess Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, said in his funeral eulogy at Westminster Abbey, Diana, the huntress of classical mythology, became Diana the Hunted, and she was hunted to her death. Dodi was killed outright. Henri Paul was killed outright. But she was in the back seat of that car. She was alive. She was conscious. She was speaking. And still the motor drives were whirring and pictures were taken by those people, 10 of whom were subsequently prosecuted in France for failing to come to the aid of somebody in distress. But it should not be allowed. It should not be permitted. It should not actually be respectable for that to happen.
Michael, you've worked on both sides of this argument. You know, you've been a journalist. You've also been a spokesman for Mohammed Al-Fayed. We've got lots of people texting in. As an example here, why is everyone suckered into the Harry and Meghan publicity machine? Take them at their word and give them no publicity. What do you make of the media and the public's reaction to this story? Is it proportionate? Does it go too far? What do you make of it?
Well, it's a human interest story. People are interested in people. They always will be. One could take a cynical view and say, well, are they doing this for ulterior motives? I mean, he is the Prince of Litigation at the moment. He's got, I think, 7 different cases going in various courts in this country in various causes. I would hope not to take that view. I can understand how he feels. I can understand that he feels anxious, and I can understand it's a primal feeling of any man, or shall we say any woman, to protect those closest to them who they love the most. And I can understand his feelings, which go back, way back, even when he was 3 years old. He was showing his attitude. Let's be quite straight about it. He hates the media. He hates the media, and that was manifested. And I think any opportunity he has to point out their failings and the treatment that he's receiving, he will bring it to prominence. I think he has a case here. Fortunately, and I think we must cling to this, nobody was hurt, nobody was injured. I think America, New York, which is used to almost everything, has taken this into its stride. And I think the mayor has spoken for everybody, and I think he's worth listening to. I'd be interested to hear, as I said, the police reports on it, and then we'll get it into true perspective. But I don't think anybody in their private lives is deserving of being treated in this way. We've got to bring more sense, more decency, more kindness to it. This is a horrible world in many ways, and if we're not kind to each other, it's going to get an awful lot worse.
Michael Cole, the former spokesman for Mohammed Al-Fayed and previously a royal correspondent, thank you for joining us this morning.